Hi guys, welcome back to Table Talk with Zach and Carly, episode 7, A Fair Fight. We hope you guys enjoyed our last episode, and as always, like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts. We did have to re-record because we had some issues uploading last week, so here we go.
Here we go.
Okay guys, so when we talk about a fair fight, obviously we are not talking about abuse, we are talking about relationships. It's very common to have this misconception that in marriage everything is cupcakes and rainbows and excitement and love this and love that. Well, it's also very normal to have disagreements and arguments, and it can be healthy. But the best way to do that is to always take the necessary steps to have a fair fight, so that way you avoid blow-ups and things can get out of hand. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So first, rule number 1, I guess we'll call it, before you actually have a disagreement, ask yourself why you feel upset. This is so important. So say you had a long day, you were already exhausted, you're stressed out, whatever it might have been, something went bad at work, whatever, the grocery lady made you upset, it doesn't matter. And you come home and you see there are dishes in the sink and the kids are crying and you already were upset before you walked in that door. And now because this happened and this happened and this happened, now it's all coming out. Now I'm going to blow up because it started with one little thing. Ask yourself, are you really upset about the dishes? Are you really upset about the kids crying? Or are you just upset that you've had a long day, you're exhausted, something happened at work? You have to be able to be transparent with yourself in situations where emotions can run high, because the moment you start listing off things that you're upset about and letting it really get to you, and then 10 minutes later after that blow up has passed, you're wondering, was that really necessary? Probably not, because I wasn't actually upset at you or the dishes. I was upset about this. So be transparent with yourself. Ask yourself that question. The moment you decide, okay, now maybe I'm starting to get upset at something else, reel it in, breathe, ask yourself why you were upset, and answer that question honestly.
So, Carly said, at first, ask yourself why you are upset to begin with, and be real with yourself and transparent. Along that same line, stick to one topic, right? You can't allow, I'm upset that the dishes aren't done to turn into, you spend too much time at work, you spend too much time watching TV, you don't do enough around the house and other places, right? Don't distract or pile on when the root cause is one thing, and don't just kind of build your case by saying, and you also don't do this or this or this or this or that, because then you're just putting the other person on the defense. You're making them they don't do anything right, that there's all these things you're unhappy about, when really it's just that one thing, and sure, the other thing may have opportunities on the other side, but that's not what we're talking about, right? One topic at a time, right? If the problem isn't the dishes, if it's, I need more help around the house, then make it about that. Don't say, I'm upset about the dishes, and then go off on, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, right? And that's why the first thing is so important, is saying, why am I really upset? Kind of got to ask yourself a 5 why, right? Why am I upset? Okay, well, why is that bothering me? Okay, why is that, right? Until you get to something that's, much more tangible or deep, that's kind of underlying the problem. So stick to one topic. Don't allow other fights or disagreements to enter into this one. All right, so, that's rule number 2. Stick to one topic.
Okay guys, rule number 3. No degrading language. And to some, this might seem like common sense, but at the end of the day, when things get heated, sometimes we say things we don't mean, and then, words start coming out, put downs, whatever it might be. Just eliminate it. If you've done it in the past and that's how you're used to fighting, work towards being better as a couple and stop doing it. It goes without saying that as soon as you start name calling, as soon as you start putting down your spouse, your partner, whatever it might be, things are going to escalate almost immediately, because now you are hurting that person, and it doesn't feel good to be hurt, so maybe they want to hurt you back, or maybe they want to shut down, whatever. If you love someone, you do not hurt them. No degrading language. You are instantly going to escalate a fight, and it's going to turn into a blow up, and it's not fair to have to say after every single time you have a disagreement, I'm sorry I called you that, or I'm sorry I did this, or I'm sorry I brought that up. It really doesn't matter. Don't say things, one, that you don't mean, and two, don't be hurtful. You're against the problem. You are not against each other. During an argument, a disagreement, whatever you want to call it, it is so important to remember that it is you and your spouse, you and your partner against that issue. It is not you and your spouse against one another. You are working to find the solution together. You're not working against each other. It's a team. Teamwork makes the dream work. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. So work together, don't hurt one another, and especially don't use degrading language. It's just not going to work out that well.
So, yeah, what Carly said is important. It's you two against the problem, trying to find a solution together, not you versus them. It's easy to get caught up in the moment and not always see that way, but truly that's what it is. Rule 4 is express how you feel using words, right? Take responsibility for the way you feel. Don't say things like, you make me feel when you do, right? I feel this when you do this, not you make me feel, right? Because you own your emotions, you own your reaction, right? 50-60% of life is reacting, not, the initial input. And you control the reaction to everything, and you control the way you feel, so own it. Now, it's not saying that, you have no reason to be upset, but, I feel blank when you do blank. It makes them aware that you're taking responsibility for your emotion, and that you didn't like what they did because then you felt a certain way, not they made you feel a certain way. Because I don't think that they would ever intend to make you feel that way. Right? When you say, you made me feel this way, you're giving them responsibility for your bad attitude, your hurt feelings, or whatever it is, when they just may not have been aware. So it's important to make sure you express how you feel, and use I statements, right? I don't like it when I feel blank, right? Give the I, right? Own your side of what you're feeling.
Rule number 5 is take turns when speaking. It makes sense. You learn it when you're in kindergarten. You raise your hand. Your teacher calls on you and says, okay, Carly has the floor now. And then when you're done speaking, the next person has the floor. And nobody talks until that person is done speaking. You have to take turns when speaking. You're never going to solve an issue if you keep cutting one another off. You're just going to add fuel to the fire if you keep saying, whoa, nope, that's not what I said. That's not what this is about. If you're sticking to one topic, if you know why you're upset, if you're not using degrading language, if you're expressing yourself in I statements, taking turns is probably the next biggest thing, obviously. You have to be able to let your partner and yourself speak fluidly, candidly about what it is that's going on in your mind, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and then when you're done, allow them that same opportunity. So that way, you're both getting out exactly what you need to say, exactly what you're thinking, and you're able to find that solution, hopefully at the end. It is so important that you allow that open communication. So when you allow each other to take turns when speaking, you're not listening to respond. You're actually just listening to comprehend what they're saying, to digest it. You're not going to be reacting because you are still going to have your chance to speak. But while you're listening, the biggest thing is that when listening to respond, you're not listening to everything they're saying. You're just picking out pieces and parts of it that, oh, okay, I'm gonna remember that, and then I'm gonna say it later. But when you listen to actually hear them and to comprehend what they're saying, you're actually absorbing what it is. You're working towards the solution instead of reacting and deciding that you're only gonna pick out what you wanna hear. You're only gonna remember certain words that they said. Give each other a chance to speak and actually listen to what they are saying. Work towards the solution together. Listen to hear them. Do not listen to respond.
So, the next rule for a fair fight is no stonewalling, right? When you're having that discussion, it sometimes can be, maybe a little escalated here or there, or it gets frustrating, maybe not feeling heard or understood, but you can't stonewall, right? Meaning you can't shut down. You can't just shut down and stop responding and just sit there and stop caring about the problem, because you're not, getting your way, or you don't feel like your way is being seen. It's not productive, and the person who's still actively trying to communicate, it's very frustrating to them. That's not fair, right? They're putting forth the effort to try to listen, try to communicate, and then you're just sitting there not doing anything, right? It's just not productive. Now, if you feel yourself getting frustrated and you take a time out, hey, that's different, right? Hey, can we go outside? Can we take a break? Let's get some fresh air. Let's go, get some water. Let's take care of the kids, or whatever the case may be. That's fine. But your intention still needs to be to complete the conversation and find some sort of resolution or compromise or middle ground or understanding. It can't just be, I don't want to have this conversation. Let's move forward and forget about it, because the problem still exists. Sweeping something under the rug doesn't get rid of, whatever it is that's under there. It's still there. You just can't see it for now. Right? So, no stonewalling. Communicate. Stay open. Respect that person enough on the other side to not shut down.
Rule number 7, no yelling. It might seem like common sense. It might be obvious. Yelling instantly is going to escalate things because now you're raising your voice. They're probably going to raise their voice, or they might stonewall and shut down. A calm, collected, conversation, that is how you solve an issue. The moment you start yelling and getting worked up,
that's not how to.
That's not how to do it. Nope. Again, it's you and your spouse against the issue, not against each other. There is no need to get worked up. Yes, sometimes things can get heated and, we're both getting frustrated, whatever it might be. There is still no need for yelling. So rule 8 was take a time out if things get heated. You are still going to come back to that discussion, that disagreement, that argument, whatever. That is so important. You're not, again, like Zach said, you're not going to sweep it under the rug and say it didn't happen. You need to come back, but you need to come back when you're both level-headed and ready to actually talk about it and work through it when you're not so upset. And again, you can give each other a time limit. Okay, in 10 minutes.
They don't save this paper. It looks like great.
Okay.
I'll put it away.
Rule number 9. Attempt to come to a compromise or an understanding. So, in a perfect world, there would be a solution to every problem. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. Like Zach said, there is not always going to be a solution. It sounds harsh, but it's the reality. In marriage, we give and we take and we compromise as much as we can, but sometimes you're going to have to just validate what that person is saying, understand what they're saying, the best that you can, and keep moving forward. Now, we're not saying that stonewalling, shut down, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you can't come to a compromise, if it is not getting heated, but you just aren't on the same page with something, your views are different. It happens. We're different people. But understanding your partner's feelings is going to validate them and soothe any of that negativity that they might be feeling towards whatever that subject is. And maybe you come back to it at a later time. But for the sake of not being able to compromise, just listening and understanding what they're saying, allowing them to speak openly, being able to listen to your partner or be listened to, it allows you to kind of soothe any negative feelings that you might have and just get everything off of your chest. Again, you're not going to be able to compromise on everything. It's understandable. You're both different people, but at least try. Give and take in a marriage is so important. But if you can't, just listen.
Fine. Like Carly said, try to come to a compromise. There's not always going to be solutions. One thing to really remember is, it's you and your spouse against the problem, not, you against her or her against you. So, when it gets to that point where maybe one person's not wavering or, you don't feel like there's any, no one's being productive, just remember that, hey, I'm here for you anyways. And it makes it very easy to compromise sometimes. If you put the other person first and just not worry about who's right or wrong, but finding out what's right for the relationship for both of you.
Okay, guys, so a quick recap on episode 7, a fair fight. You're fighting against the issue, not against your spouse. And the rules are, before you begin, ask yourself why you're upset.
Discuss one topic at a time.
No degrading language.
Express your feelings with words.
Take turns when you are speaking.
No stonewalling.
No yelling.
Take a time out if things get too heated.
And attempt to come to a compromise or an understanding. So that is it for episode 7, A Fair Fight. Thank you for joining us with Table Talk with Zach and Carly. Cheers. And we will see you in a day.
Just kidding. We're not doing another video. This will be Wednesdays. We lied because I'm tired.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles. Sorry, we will not see you in a day. We will see you next week.
Don't just have a good night. Have an American night. Stay classy, San Diego.
We live in Texas.